Hey folks, David here. Have you heard of the acronym BYOVD? Or Bring Your Own Vulnerable Driver? I got you a really cool story from the Cortex research and development team, which I caught a few weeks ago on a product all hands. The speaker was our own Yoni Alon, who is VP of Research and Endpoint Engineering. To put him into context, his team is the one who figured out how to run machine learning-based detections on Chromebooks. So there's an instant respect for this team. Now, the feature he mentioned on the all hands was called vulnerable driver protection. And the story begins by them finding threat groups that were making a sport out of removing our endpoint agents on customer computers. And they were looking into, how do they do this? And they figured out that these groups are getting into kernel mode through exploiting always widely used unpatched drivers. You only mentioned a couple of printer brands, keyboard mice manufacturers, typically old unpatched drivers. And because these drivers are running in kernel mode, as you hack them, then you are running in kernel mode if you manage to execute your code through them. That's how they remove our agent from the computers, and that's how they operate in God mode. Pretty much it's Wild West at that point. So the acronym was BYOVD, or Bring Your Own Vulnerable Driver, which is a trend on the market nowadays. And the challenge is that these drivers are legit and they are used everywhere. You cannot just remove them unless you want your people to stop printing. How did they crack it? Microsoft first had an attempt. They published a list of drivers and versions to block, which companies followed, and then Unit 42 and Yoni's research team just kept monitoring the situation, looking at what's happening, and they saw that as soon as companies did the blocking, a ton of new vulnerable drivers just popped up, things that they have never seen before, in production for those companies. So the bad guys obviously tricked users into installing new drivers that they didn't even need, but they looked legit, so they could exploit them. What did Yoni's team do? Well, they had to just give up relying on the drivers not being there anymore, right? So they had to find a way to block the bad guys' kernel mode calls. They built hooks into the Windows kernel, which, if you know the operating system, it's a dangerous place to be, because these hooks get triggered every time a kernel mode function is called from user mode. Yoni's team built behavioral algorithms, very simple ones, that are looking for the signs of the malicious attempt, because they watch the bad guys do their thing for a while. The team now knows the steps. It's like knowing all the famous chess moves and you know what to expect. And the moment our agent sees the sequence, it denies it. Otherwise, guess what? A moment later, our agent gets denied permanently. Now, if you are in the tech world, I know you're thinking what I'm thinking, performance, and we are now the bottleneck of the most vulnerable part of the operating system, where every millisecond is worth $1 million, right? And this was one of the most challenging parts of this task. But I have a big faith in this team. Remember, this is the team that got machine learning analytics run on Chromebooks. Most EDR vendors don't go there. So I have a big trust that they did what they did well. So this new feature is now also used to block other kernel attacks, not just removing the endpoint, but other techniques. And these endpoint detections now join the thousands of other machine learning detections in our extended data lake across network, cloud, identity, email security, vulnerability management, attack surface, and many more. This was David. Thanks for watching.